So I'd just like to look backwards, and as I look at what happened in 2011, for me it was a very interesting year. You could say that at the level of politics. Maybe the world changed, there was a lot going on. But in the payments world, certainly a lot happened. This was one of the headlines I saw at the beginning of 2011. And it was the first time in the UK, which has traditionally been the largest card payments market, at least in Europe, that first of all, card payments were greater than cash. So everyone, when I was in the UK, and I haven't been in the UK now for about 12 years, but when I lived there, everyone said, you'll never find a day when card payments become stronger than cash. But in fact, at the end of 2010, card payments, the total amount of money processed, was actually greater than cash. Second thing that I think many of us never thought we'd actually see was the US embracing EMV. So again, towards the end of last year, we had some very important news, which was that Visa and MasterCard both finally decided that enough was enough, and the US also had to migrate to EMV like the rest of the world. And so an end date was set, a liability shift for October 2015. So finally we know that now the US will be following the rest of global card payment markets in migrating to EMV. And lastly, something else that you probably will have all seen, we had a very well-known and well-used search engine with a lot of O's in its name. I think you know who I mean. Was the first organization to launch a mobile wallet. For me, it was very telling that it was a promotional company, a company that makes money purely out of advertising, clicks, all that sort of thing, rather than an acquirer or a mobile network operator. But they were the ones who went ahead, they set up a mobile wallet scheme and deployed it in the US. And now I understand we have over 150,000 points of sale in the US which accept the Google Wallet. So all of that for me, ladies and gentlemen, is good news. I'd also say, if you look at our industry, so if you look at card payments, there's a lot to be cheerful about. We're part of an industry where there are around 5.7 billion cards worldwide, processing around $10 trillion worth of transactions at over 30 million points of sale. So clearly it's a significant business. But maybe there are some challenges that we have to work with. The first of which is largely due to the need to provide ever greater efficiencies, operational efficiencies, the need to focus on cost. I've heard many people start to refer to payments as a utility, almost like the gas or electricity. You turn it on, you turn it off. Sounds very uninspiring. I think there's much more to payments than that. The other thing is obviously competition. We have a lot of competition out there. Those of you who have been in the payments industry for a number of years will tell you it's very focused on competing often at cost in terms of who can offer the best rates for retailers. But also what we're seeing now is there's a lot of competition coming from outside the traditional industry. We have organizations like PayPal eyeing up the face-to-face payments world and believing that they can clearly come in and offer something in face-to-face payments and compete against the traditional incumbent players. We have other schemes like Square, like iZettle, which are focused very much on micro merchants. But again, they believe they can do it more easily. They can offer a model which is perhaps quite expensive because of Square or iZettle charge a transaction fee of 2.75%. But at the end of the day, if you're a small retailer and you can set up an account with a matter of hours, then it has some sort of value for you. So we have clearly alternative payment schemes coming into the business. Lastly, we have two other axes, I would say, in this 4Cs model. One is convergence. Clearly we're in an industry where the trend is towards convergence. We have base technological convergence. Everything is now running on IP, that's clear. But clearly where we have more banks or more processors operating in an increasing number of countries, it's logical that we should start to adopt international standards, especially when we have retailers who are present in 15 or 20 different countries. They want to have common standards, common protocols, common specifications which they can use in each of the countries where they're present. Lastly, and perhaps the most interesting point and where I'm going to focus, we're actually seeing a lot of innovation. In this model, it's called co-innovation. You might think that's very convenient because it adds another C. In fact, the co means it's supposed to be bringing in the customer, the cardholder, the end user, making the process more intuitive, more interactive, giving them greater value in the whole payment process. So what do I mean by that in this particular case, and what does that mean when we take it to the retail point of sale? I would say it means innovation in things like self-service. These days, when you're buying goods and services, especially in convenience environments, a lot of the time you're not dealing with someone face-to-face, you're dealing with a machine. And a lot of the solutions we're deploying now enable card payment at self-service machines and kiosks. In other areas, mobile acceptance. It's not only being able to take payment wherever you go with retailers who have a mobile business, be they sort of traveling salesmen, be they taxi drivers, be they delivery agents. It's also about being able to make the point of sale within stores mobile, so you can take payment and the sale process directly to customers. The other area of innovation is definitely in promotion. As I mentioned before, Google has come in to the whole mobile wallet process, not on the back of transaction processing, but because they believe that there's a lot of promotional and informational opportunities if they're the ones who are dealing directly with consumers, and if they're able to offer them promotions which retailers are able to subscribe to. So clearly promotion is becoming part of the whole payment scenario. And what we're seeing is that payment gives you a foothold into a broader world where you can take advantage from promotional opportunities. The third area is really focused on contactless or RFID technology. Obviously, the Google Wallet runs on NFC. It's not the only one, and clearly in our industry there's a lot of talk about what will happen with NFC and how that will change the whole face-to-face payments world. But more on that later. So coming back where I started, self-service, you can see the point of sale in a self-service environment is very different. It takes many different disguises, but obviously there's normally a machine or a kiosk in place. If you're on the street paying for parking, if you're off the street in a car park, again, paying for the time you've used, you're normally doing with a machine. And the good thing is these days you can do that with a card. In the future, you'll be able to do it with your NFC-enabled mobile phone. Typically, where we see self-service payments, it's normally in transport environments. So if you're buying a ticket on the Dubai Metro, for example, you're normally using a machine where you can also pay now with your card. You can also, by the way, buy gold ingots using machine on top of the Burj Khalifa. Very interesting location for putting a self-service retail environment, but maybe some of you bought gold ingots using your payment cards in the Burj Khalifa. Other areas, be they at the petrol pump, be they at kiosk or vending machines, clearly show the spread of self-service technology. And obviously the benefit these days with transaction amounts tending to increase is that if you have card payment, it means you can generally sell much more and you as a consumer can buy more. You don't have the threshold of $1 or $2 or however many coins you have in your pocket. As I mentioned, mobile has many different implications. And the first area of mobile I'd like to focus on is mobile acceptance. Now, what you can see here is a solution which we call PAYWARE Mobile, which enables you to accept payment using a smartphone. In this case, typically it's an iPhone or another smart device, which can be an iPad or an iPod. And there's two real main areas of application for this. One is if you're a retailer, you're on the move, you want to combine your sale process, you want to keep track of what you're selling, and you want to have payment at the same time. With this device, which combines the secure PIN pad with your smartphone, you can combine both processes together. You can use it in restaurants for taking orders at the table. So you use your iPod to take the order, and you turn it around, you have secure payment on the other side. But there's another very interesting area, which is in retail environments, where you can actually take the sale process to the customer. Instead of asking customers to go and queue up at a cash desk, you can have staff in the store taking the process directly to them. You can manage what they're selling. You can use the opportunity to interact with them. You can upsell. You can use CRM applications. You can use store management applications. You can even use your iPod to access the online store. So here you can see you're bridging both the online web store with the face-to-face environment. And all of that is brought about by combining a powerful smart device with this secure payment front end. And you can see it's just a front end because of what we have behind it is a full secure service system, which we call PAYWARE Merchant, which connects you back to different bank acquirers. That solution is all fully encrypted to provide full security. It's full function. So you can use a chip card, you can use a contactless card. Another interesting aspect is it actually has a barcode scanner. So if you're in the store, you can actually scan an item, you can complete the sale, and you can take payment on the other side using the secure PIN entry device. So clearly this is a very innovative solution that allows retailers to take the sale, to take the payment to their customers, and to make that process much more interactive. Coming on to payment-enabled media, so promotional opportunities. What we can see is there are clearly moments when you're predominantly buying a good or you're taking advantage of a service where there's also an opportunity to speak to you as a consumer, to interact with you, let's say to show you advertising. Clearly taxis is an example of that. We as a company have installed payment solutions in many different taxis, both in the US, in the UK and London, also in countries like Italy and Poland. And what we're doing there, we're not only putting in payment solutions, we're also combining those with systems which enable you to show advertising. So suddenly taxi drivers who previously only accepted cash payment can now accept card payment, but they can also benefit from promotional services. They have an alternative revenue stream based on being able to show their customers in the back of the taxi cab short films, to show them news services, and to mix that with advertising as well. So in this particular system, which you can see is in a London taxi cab, and if you go to see the Olympic Games this summer, maybe you'll see it in action. You'll be able to use one of the 3,000 taxi cabs which are running our solution. You'll be able to pay with contactless cards as well as with standard chip cards. But above all, you'll be able to benefit from the media services in that taxi cab. And that's a situation where the taxi and the taxi driver also get some benefit. They charge and are able to get additional revenue from running media services in the back of their taxi. The area that there's a lot of talk about these days is obviously NFC and mobile payments. Now, there are a lot of mobile payment technologies out there today, and although there's a lot of talk about NFC, I have to say that currently it probably only accounts for around 20% of transaction volume that is run on mobile handsets. The majority is still on other schemes, like maybe M-Pesa, as you've seen in Kenya. It's a money transfer system, which is running on SMS. But clearly SMS is not really a secure technology for payments. And I think that's why the whole industry is interested in NFC. NFC provides you to have a very secure authentication system where, in effect, your phone is fully authenticating itself with a payment device in the same way that your chip and PIN card does. So if you look at the forecast from the analysts, there's a lot of excitement about NFC. People talk about NFC-enabled phones reaching around 120 million units this year. That sounds quite a respectable quantity, but remember that at the end of last year, there were only a total of 500 million smartphones supplied. So 120 million out of 500 million still means that NFC is only around 20% of total smartphone shipments. So clearly we have a way to go before we have NFC fully enabled on smartphones. But clearly people expect that it will come. And you can see there the forecast is for 1 in 6 users worldwide will have an NFC-enabled device by 2014, and that by 2015, NFC will be the most widely used solution for mobile payments, so outpacing things like SMS or tag-based technologies. So clearly, NFC has a big future. But I would say, what really is the value proposition for NFC? A lot of people talk about the speed or the convenience, being able to pay with your phone instead of taking out your wallet and taking out your card. And clearly, NFC enables you to replace a lot of the paper or physical tokens that you might have in your wallet today. It'll take away cash, maybe take away tickets, and take away perhaps a whole horde of different cards. But I'd say the value proposition to NFC goes a lot further than that, because really what you're doing with a smartphone is you're taking that very interactive world that you have online and you're taking it into face-to-face environments. And there's a lot of organizations which have sprung up, promotional companies online, that are now enabling you as an online consumer to bridge that divide between the online and face-to-face. They offer you the ability with friends to participate from daily deals like Groupon or Woot, with things like Shopkick or Foursquare. They invite you to take a tour of the town and to benefit from promotions in specific places. Promotions perhaps because of, as you go into a store, you actually benefit from a discount, which you receive directly on your smartphone as the sensor picks you up entering the phone. So clearly the smartphone is a way of enabling us to benefit as consumers for a lot of location-based promotional opportunities. And I quite like this quote from Shopkick. What if you could flip a switch and convert your real-world store into an interactive world using your smartphone? And clearly this is the whole proposition of NFC. It enables you as a consumer to complete the cycle, not only to benefit from coupons, from discounts, from loyalty points, but to benefit from them immediately, to redeem the value of the discounts as you're in the store, as you pick them up in real time. So that clearly for me is what we're talking about with NFC. We're talking about a whole ecosystem where the online world is really fused with the face-to-face world. And what we get as an online consumer, we start to benefit from in the face-to-face world. So clearly from the perspective of companies like VeriFone, which supply payment technology, we see some very interesting opportunities here, because what we're seeing is the point of sale technology we supply for payments suddenly has to become much more interactive. It has to become, if you like, an intelligent checkout, which not only allows you to pay with your Visa or your MasterCard or your Amex or your Discover credit cards, it enables you to redeem vouchers, to redeem coupons, to benefit from loyalty points. So suddenly it needs to become much more intelligent. It needs to know who you are as a consumer with an NFC phone supporting maybe a variety of different wallets. It needs to know where it is so that it can tell you what promotions, what discounts you're entitled to. It needs to know what coupons you already have on your smartphone, and it has to enable you to redeem them. And above all, it has to do that in a secure and a trusted way. It has to provide you, as a user, with a very clear, single interface to make the process seamless and convenient. So at the end of the day, what we see is a future where you'll have a lot of very interesting schemes running on your smartphone. You probably have a lot of interesting applications running on it today. A lot of those applications will start to blend the online world with the face-to-face world. A lot of those applications will be to do with deals, offers, benefits, and loyalty. And above all, if there isn't mobile commerce without a mobile phone, we believe that on the other side, you can't have mobile commerce if you don't have a point of interaction that enables you to redeem and benefit from all those different promotional schemes. So we as a company are very excited by what we see as an opportunity to provide the core facilitating technology and a lot of the services that enable that mobile commerce. So we have a vision, and clearly there's always a difference between vision and reality, but this is what we use to guide us. And this is the sense that you can support any wallet, promotional application, or other scheme in 3 easy steps. We believe it should be this simple for retailers who want to get enabled. First thing is to buy the right sort of technology to make sure you have devices which support NFC and contactless. The second thing is to choose the applications that you want to support, be they things like PayPass from MasterCard, PAYWARE from Visa, or maybe other schemes like ISIS in the US, or Google, or Groupon, or Woot, or Foursquare, or any of these other schemes. And lastly, obviously, you need to manage that. You need to be able to support new schemes and download them easily to all your points of interaction. So firstly, in terms of enabling technology, all of our new technology, all of our latest generation payment devices are fully enabled for NFC. That's obviously NFC, mobile phones, as well as contactless cards. We support the core underlying protocols for PayPass for PayWave. That's ISO 14443 A and B. We also support MyFair, which is used by the Google Wallet, as well as ISO 18092, which is the latest peer-to-peer protocol, which enables a fully interactive process between your mobile handset and the point of interaction. So clearly we have the core underlying technologies supported in our devices. At the same level, we've invested in an architecture which enables us to combine security and secure payment technology together with promotional schemes. So we have an architecture which has firewalling between different applications and which has 2 areas, the secure area where your secure payment applications resides, and then, let's say, the promotional area where you can support your schemes like Groupon, like Google, like Shopkick, what have you. And obviously the benefit here is you can add new applications easily without having to rerun through a lot of complex certification processes. The last thing is in terms of management. We obviously provide back-end systems that enable us to upgrade our devices with the latest versions of applications, with latest contactless firmware, with different secure keys. But the good thing is we can use that same technology to download new promotional or payment applications in a world where we'll see a huge growth in them through NFC. We also provide the core infrastructure that enables you to route transactions, not only payments, but let's say loyalty transactions, transactions where you need to receive or deliver coupons as well as payments. So we have in place a lot of the core technology. We have the payment gateways, we have the servers which enable you to switch those different services back to a variety of different processing organizations. So in conclusion, I'd say in our business, we have some core underlying principles, and one of those is security, because everything we're discussing, be it a payment application or be it a loyalty application, requires security. It's all about value-bearing transactions, and trust of the end user is key to that. And to do that, we clearly have to focus on meeting and exceeding the latest security requirements. Another thing I've seen is that you can't deploy these new technologies unless you agree on some of the core basic standards that enable the industry to deploy the new technology. So unless banks and mobile network operators get together and start agreeing some core common standards for NFC, it's hard to see how we can get millions of NFC-enabled handsets into the hands of consumers. So clearly common standards, and there's been many initiatives worldwide where banks and MNOs have started working together to define some common standards. But clearly that's what we need if we're going to make NFC happen. Clearly the value proposition is very important, and what we've seen is, as a cardholder, there are some clear value propositions for you to use your mobile handset in addition to things like payment cards. But what about retailers? Retailers need to understand that they too can benefit from some of this new technology, because in many cases they have to change not only their front end but also some of their back end systems. I would say that for all of us in this industry, we have the opportunity to make the payment process much more interactive, to make the point of sale a real point of interaction. There's much more that you can do at that single device. And I would say for everyone involved, don't forget there's a lot of promotional opportunities that you can take advantage of. So from my perspective, there's a very clear success formula as we look at these new technologies. And I would say that we have to make sure that the process remains convenient for the cardholder. It has to be convenient for the retailer. We have to make sure that it's secure. As we look at mobile technologies, we have to increase security levels, not reduce them. And lastly, we have to be able to deliver this new technology at optimized total cost of ownership. Unless we can do this, then the business case for people to adopt the technology is hard to square. So ladies and gentlemen, I think that completes my session.